Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unlocking You 2.0. It's Spencer Bonin, your emotion and body code practitioner, and Balwinder Marwaha, your transformational leadership coach. Again, back at it again with another video talking about more rejection trauma. But today, specifically, we're talking about how the words of people were used against us and how it really shapes the trauma we've been through and how it shapes the rest of our lives ultimately. So, with that, I'm just going to pass this right over to you, Bally. And if you just want to let us know consciously what's going on, how does that all work? And maybe even tell some experience about yourself and what's going on with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for that, Spencer. I want to be real with you. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat. These are some words that I heard a lot of the time growing up. And when I say a lot of the time, I really mean that. It wasn't just like every now and then or maybe once a year. I heard these words pretty darn regularly. And these words were go back to where you came from. Um, and as a kid, hearing that over and over again, you makes you wonder: is do I really belong here? Is this my place?
Yeah.
But I was born and raised in Canada. I've grown up here, been here all my life. Yet many times I was told, go back to where you came from. As people were just being racist, they were not welcoming. So I want to touch on a few things. Number one, the first thing I want to touch on is what that word does to us. Even though somebody else is saying it, the way we've been taught and groomed, if you want to say, or instructed, is that you put value on what others say. You respect to others, you listen to them, even though they may not be saying polite things. But as human nature, we're told to listen to people, right?
Mm.
And typically, if there are elders, we would listen to them as well. And so if someone who's older comes to me, or someone who's bigger in school or older and wiser, they say, hey, go back to where you came from. You're like, oh my goodness, like, do I really belong here? And um, so that's kind of one thing, is we start to believe the word, right? um, it affects us. But the second thing is that people's words and what they say, it's not because of me or because of you as a viewer or whoever it is. It's because of them. It's
Mm.
because they're lacking something. They're doing that. We don't realize that at the time. We didn't realize it then. But what it was that when people were telling me to go back to where I came from, it wasn't that there was a problem with me. It was a problem with them. Maybe they weren't safe where they belonged. Maybe they didn't feel secure. Maybe they felt threatened. Whatever it was, the problem was really with them, not with me. They just didn't know how else to deal with it. Yet I took it upon me, and maybe I subconsciously believed it to be true, because here's what happened was that I spent most of my life believing that everyone was better than me,
Mm.
that they I didn't have, that they belonged here and I didn't. And it wasn't until, Spencer, you came along, I had a lot of energy work done, and, really took a deep dive into myself. I didn't realize that, you know what, it's not true. It was these words that had changed me. They had made me to who I was. And so what I had let people do was use their words to shape me. And we've all done this. Maybe you've heard, your parents tell you something time and time again, or a friend tell you something time and time again, or a significant other. Well, when you hear that over and over again, you start to believe it sometimes. And it's
Yeah.
hard not to, because that's just what we're conditioned to do. And the last thing I want to talk about before I hand it over to you, Spencer, is that one of the things that makes us as humans very unique. It's interesting because we're brought up and raised and taught almost the same way we raise our domesticated pets, our animals. So if you think of a dog, when a dog does something good, you give it a treat. When a dog does something bad, you uh, I don't want to say, you tell it, hey, you did something wrong. Whatever way it is in the dog world. I don't have a dog yet. One day I will, but um, and I'll have to learn how to tell the dog that, hey, you didn't do that. That wasn't right, or let them know that's not the right thing to do. But here's what happens is, when a dog does something right, it'll remember that. When a dog does something wrong and you tell it, hey, don't do that, it'll remember that, but the pet doesn't replay that scenario in its mind over and over again. It doesn't subject itself to that torture over and over again. Yet as humans, when someone would say to me, hey, go back to where you came from, um, and then they'd throw in another derogatory word. I don't really want to get into that here, but I would go back home and I would replay that, and I would replay the situation. And maybe even months later or years later, I might see that person again. Who knows what it might be? I replay that situation again. And here's what differs between us and domesticated animals, because we're both really raised the same way. In school, as kids, we're rewarded for our good behavior, and we're scolded or told when we had bad behavior, very much the way we treat and train domesticated pets and animals, right? So you replay this word over and over again, which animals don't do. The situation's done, they forget about it, they've memorized it, but they won't replay it.
Mm.
And so it's over. But with us as humans, I would replay that scenario. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe that person said that to me. Or, it was like so embarrassing because there was like so many other people there when they said that and I didn't know how to react. So
Yeah.
you replay this over and over again in your mind that, hey, go back to where you came from, which really I didn't come from anywhere. I was born and raised in Calgary and I still live here, like this is home, right? But replaying it back and forth into my mind over and over again, what did it do? It made me partially to believe that, because I was subjecting myself to that torture, that pain over and over again. And again, that's something that's very unique to us as humans. We do that all the time. It doesn't make it okay to do. Absolutely not. How can we get away from that? Well, Spencer, enlighten us. What do we do?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that, because I mean, honestly, it's a
No,
challenge
you're
that
welcome.
a
Thank you.
lot of people that have to deal with, right? So and specifically what's going on in the background, and
Mhm.
we have talked about this previously on this channel before, but something I want to talk about is called post-hypnotic suggestions. So and what a post-hypnotic suggestion is it's kind of like a statement or a phrase, very much like we were talking about, a series of words that's kind of
Mhm.
implanted in your subconscious mind that's from an outside
Yeah.
source. So with that, this also relates to things like music, movies, advertisement, you know,
Mhm.
anything like that. But exactly what you're talking about, where people are saying things to you over and over and over and over and over again. And at some certain point through hypnosis slash suggestion, at some point the hemispheres of your brain kind of desynchronize, and it allows your mind to be open to the power of hypnosis and suggestion. And it's like punk, there that little statement goes in there, and now your mind
Mhm.
is seeking for it as truth and seeking to validate it as truth over and over again. And also, because we're creative beings, that's who we are, that's creating even more of it
Mhm.
in our experience. And it's like we're seeking for it, we're creating it, we're seeking for it, we're creating it. And that's where
Yeah.
this whole scenario comes together, and how that happens. And just a personal experience for myself, I don't have any um necessarily like specific phrases, but there is one
Yeah.
phrase that sticks out. When I was in, I would say, grade 6, I was, as I talked about in the last episode, I was a bit of a hefty boy. I was a hefty kid. There was lots of stuff going on
Mhm.
in the family at that point. And at one point, one of my teachers, I think she was actually trying to help the situation rather than cause what actually happened. But she said to the entire class, she announced it to my entire grade 6 class, and was like, oh, Spencer, he's not fat, he's big boned. And what do the kids do? They
Man.
immediately start making fun of me, laughing at me in recess, saying all these different kind of pretty hurtful things, or like,
Mhm.
Spencer's not fat, he's big bone, things like that, right? So, and as a
Mhm.
kid, that's a pretty traumatizing event. I mean, maybe it
Absolutely.
doesn't seem like much, but it's something that really stuck with me. So I was fat or larger or whatever you want to call it for a good portion of my life, and had a lot of really low self-esteem as a result of that, as well as other stuff as well. But that's just one clear example. of that. So, and that can show up in a variety of different ways in the emotion code and body code. But the number one thing that I wanted to talk about was the power of your word, the power of someone saying things like that over and over again. It's like, this person said it. Now, all of a sudden, there's a bunch of these little kids who are saying the same thing over and over again to someone else. And boom, all of a sudden that diminishes, that makes you feel rejected. It makes you feel diminished by everyone else.
Yep.
It's incredible how much that can affect a person. So with that, that's kind of what's going on in the subconscious amongst many other things, I'm sure. But is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Valley?
No, it's the sad reality is at some point, anyone that's watching this right now has probably gone through something. Someone said something that was hurtful or mean to you. And look, we're humans. This is kind of how our mind works. And we take these things and we sit on them and we start to contemplate them and we start to think them true sometimes. And unfortunately, somewhere in the back of our mind, in our subconscious, that thought remains and then it holds us back. It doesn't allow us to be our true self,
Exactly.
which, as I said, in my case was for many, many years. So going in there, removing that baggage, removing those thoughts and reprogramming yourself is absolutely huge. And there's a number of ways you can do that. And that's something that Spencer and I guide our clients through. We really, really help them with that, overcome that. So, if you'd like to, if you're watching this video, we'd love for you to just be honest. Share with us, what is it that's happened to you? Maybe growing up, or maybe it's happening now in a relationship or somewhere where you're in, or maybe with a sibling or a significant other, a parent. Maybe it's your kids saying something to you, or is it you are saying something to your kids over and over again? But let us know, because we'd love to work with you. The last thing we want is anyone to hold on to this trauma, this rejection trauma, because rejection is one of the worst things that you can face in your life. It sticks onto you like crazy glue. It's there forever. And unless you do something to get rid of it, it will really, really hold you back in life. So, like I said, there's anything that you want to share with us, we're open. Feel free to comment in the comments. Otherwise, send us a message, send us a private message, and we'd love to chat with you and help you out. Whatever the rejection might be, whenever you faced it, whether it's now, whether it was while you were growing up, whether it's your kids and you're not sure how to help them, we're here for you. So with that said, thank you again for tuning in. We really appreciate it. To find out more about what we do, check out this website at www.ioimember.com. We've made it very, very affordable to work with us. Prior to this, we did a lot of one-on-one stuff where we really worked with clients over a long period of time, one-on-one, but not everyone could commit the time. Not everyone had the finances for it. But now we've got a system and a program in place where it's not a lot of time. It's very little money. It's a monthly membership. You can end it whenever you want. You're not held to anything. And I even go as far as say this, is that if you spend a month with us and you are not satisfied, we'll give you your money back. 0 questions asked. That's how confident we are in the ability to change the lives of our clients. So check it out. Let us know how we can help you and serve you, because this is what we love to do. Spencer, anything else you'd like to add?
The only other thing I would like to say is, obviously Bally and I we're very much zoning in on this rejection kind of aspect. But if you're not someone who specifically wants that or whatever it is, we actually have different divisions in our group as well, and maybe that kind of applies to you separately as well. So whether it's specifically you want to increase your finances, if you want to increase your relationships or increase the efficiency or the quality of the relationships in your life, if you want better health and wellness, or if you want to even like do social media and branding, and as well. And then there's another topic, which is mind, body, spirit. That's kind of what we're doing with ours, because it's getting a little bit more targeted. But we want to make sure that you're in the right place for you. And yes, we have a very specific skill set where we can help you in many different ways. But if there's somewhere where we can plug you in directly to really help you out in your situation, that's another thing that we really want to bring to the table as well. So with that, that's the only other thing I have to say. I hope you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. And until next time, we will see you on the next episode of Unlocking You 2.0. So until then, take care, have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.